Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Brian Bauer here, and today we're going to be talking about gear that's cheap. But here's the thing, is that sometimes cheap gears and good deal comes at a cost. Today we're going to be testing out the Behringer TO800. Now, first off, if you like this kind of content, click the subscribe button and the notification bell so your phone is going off during your soul-crushing meetings from Monday to Friday and potentially on the weekends. The TO800 is a budget tube screamer. Now, an actual tube screamer is going to sink you a fair amount of money, and this is going to sink you $40 Canadian. The reason I bought this is I just wanted to really test it out, see how it is, see how it holds up. Now, as you can see, same green casing. However, this casing is plastic compared to metal, but we want to know A, will this thing hold up, and B, how does this thing sound? First off, we'll do a sound test. I'm going to run this into a clean channel of an amp, and as well, we're going to tighten up a high gain distortion sound and see how this thing actually holds up sound-wise. And at the end of the video, I'll give you my conclusions on what I actually think of this pedal. So, without further ado, let's get to the sound test. All right, now, so this is the sound portion of this video. So here we have the vintage tube Overdrive TO800 plugged in. I'm using my Ibanez RG570. We are running straight into the Kemper. This is okay, just to explain that all stomps in the Kemper go before the amp and before the after effects. So we can essentially run this pedal straight into the input of the Kemper. We're using Guido Bungestock's Behringer XTC Green, which is a clean channel, as we can hear right here. I will set it up. Anyway, that is set up, and we're going to be running this overdrive into that. There's two things that I would do with an overdrive like this. Number one would be running it into a clean channel to saturate our clean tone. Number two would be tightening up our higher gain metal channels. So we'll do both today. So let's mess around. We are in the split position between the bridge end single coil on this guitar. Trust me, this guitar sounds absolutely awesome. So as we can hear, good. All right. Run to the neck position. Sounds pretty awesome right there. All right. Bridge position, turn it up a little bit. We'll turn this off here. I love the Behringer XTC Clean. And honestly, this right here, as you can see, we got our drive just about 1, 2 o'clock over there. Our tone is just around 11. And the level's up a little. Kind of more of what we would use on the metal settings. So let's turn the drive up a little bit. right, that sounds pretty awesome. We'll turn the levels up and down a little bit. Pretty cool. I like to level up a little bit more. Okay. We'll drive back a little bit. I like this right around here because you can get a bit of that country tone out of it. Now we are on to the 7-string. So generally speaking, tube screamers, what do you use a tube screamer for, or any kind of overdrive? You run it into a high gain amp and you tighten up the sound essentially. So now we're going to be using the Guido Bunch of Stocks Mibu MV, which is the Mesa Boogie Mark V, aka John Petrucci's amp. You know, this guy goes. So the gain over here is about just a little bit, looks like over halfway, and everything's leveled out in the middle. How are we gonna tighten this thing up? Let's fire this sucker on. Let's listen to this now. I think that sounds super tight. It's just in comparison without it turned on. And back on. Whew, hell yeah, it sounds awesome. Let's see if we play a few leads, like. So you can turn the drive up, but I find when you turn it's adding way too much noise. So really we want the drive always down, tone all the way up, and the level, well, you can figure out the level. But I really like how this tightens up the sound. All right, so now we're back. Here's my overall conclusions. Let's first talk about the sound. Honestly, I think the sound of this pedal is super good. I was able to get a really good sound of this really quick plugging it into the clean channel. Now I played it for a couple nights, testing this thing out to see how it sounds so I could get some sounds really quick for this video. And honestly, it didn't take me too long to be able to dial this thing in. I really like running this thing into a clean channel to get that overdriven sound. It sounded really good for like rock and roll, maybe a little bit of twang, and it just sounded really nice, and I didn't really have to fight to get a good sound out of it. I mean, at $40, this thing sounds really good. For the high gain tones, I had no problem getting a super tight sound out of the Mesa Mark V, the John Petrucci amp, as you just saw. I think, and it sounded really good just for like a little bit of a boost to tighten up sound. So sound-wise, I can give this thing a solid pass. However, this is a budget pedal. At $40, they're gonna have to cut some corners. It's a cheap plastic construction. Overall, it's a fairly light pedal. It still has the grip here, which is cool. The knobs are fairly tight, but when you step on this pedal, it's a very unsatisfying click compared to buying a Boss Stomp box. You can hear this clack when you do that. Here's an example. The thing is, I bought this new to see what Behringer is actually delivering to the customer here. I didn't want to buy some used one that's been stomped on hard every Friday night after somebody drank a whole 12 pack of Olin's, PBR for the rest of the world, playing Metallica and Pantera covers, being like, yeah dude, and slamming on it. I wouldn't stomp on this thing too hard. I feel like it wouldn't take too much to break this. Even just plugging in cords into the jacks, it feels kind of cheap. It doesn't feel super solid. And another thing I find with the power supply on this is that sometimes this pedal doesn't even want to turn on, and I've tried a few different ones. So there's something kind of off in there. But am I gonna blame Behringer for $40 pedal that has a lot of corners cut on it? I mean, this thing might be worth $10 when they actually construct this pedal. At $40, you're gonna have to cut corners. So if you're gonna buy this, don't expect to get Boss quality or any Ibanez quality or any higher end stomp box. This is a budget stomp box. So who's this for? This isn't gonna be for the guy with a huge budget that's gonna be playing gigs all the time and stepping on this sucker. This is gonna be really good for somebody who's starting out, who needs an overdrive for their amplifier and doesn't have a whole lot of money, because it sounds absolutely awesome. It does exactly what a tube screamer should do. Maybe it's not that hard to replicate, but still, I think in that sense, it's a good pedal for anybody who just can't afford it, starting out, or if you just want a tube overdrive for playing in your basement and you're gonna treat it pretty good, I think this thing will last. In a touring situation, not so much. So, in the overall, sounds great. Construction is, well, a little bit to be desired. Keep in mind, it was $40 Canadian. That's less for the American people. It's on the screen. And saying that, if you want a cheap overdrive, something that you can play in your house to get a really good sound, this is gonna work for a lifetime. Probably not. It's a bit of a stopgap for a product, but in the overall, at $40, it doesn't sound like garbage. So I have to say, I will be using this some here in the future. Anyway, guys, if you like this kind of content, it's like make sure you're clicking the subscribe button. Check out any of the links below, all the videos on the side screen. And if you want to try out a cheap pedal, Behringer TO800. Anyway, guys, have an awesome day, and I will see you guys all in the next video. See yas.